Man, Gavin and Griffin, the G unit, dude. What is going on, Gavin? How you doing tonight?
Doing good, doing good.
Griffin, how we doing?
Doing great.
Man, I'm excited. I felt like it's taken forever to get this episode. We booked it so far back and we did that event together. And so man, I've been waiting for this. People have been asking me, like, when is that episode? I'm like, it's coming, it's coming. So we're finally here. But before we get into y'all's story, before we run back the magical season, we want to break the ice. And so Gavin, I'll start with you, man. You have your own late night talk show and you can have anybody on as your very first guest. Doesn't have to be an athlete necessarily. It could be anybody in the world. Who's your first guest?
Probably Joe Rogan. Probably gonna go with Joe
Solid.
Rogan.
He's gonna do a little reverse. The guy who has a show himself. Okay.
Yeah, Joe Rogan. I mean, I think he's probably the best. Got the best podcast out there, and then he's got, I mean, different opinions about everything you can imagine. So I think a pretty cool conversation.
Well, I mean, let's keep it honest. He's got the second best podcast. I mean, I personally feel like I got the
Yeah,
best. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. His numbers and money say otherwise. But for you, Griffin, who is it?
I'd say either Elon Musk or
Oh,
Sugar Sean O'Malley. I've been watching a lot of UFC lately, so
bro.
I
Yeah,
just watched this fight the other night.
yeah, my nephew got the wild itch to like. He was like, you know what, man, it's plus 250 on O'Malley. He goes, I'm gonna drop $500 right now. Anyway, obviously the knockout happens. I'm surprised the cops didn't call and think there was a domestic, violence thing going on. He screamed so loud when he wanted to start running through the house screaming. But it was great. Yeah, like that
yeah.
fight. Yeah, that whole card. You watch that whole card?
I didn't watch the whole card. I just went over to one of my buddy's house and caught the Sean fight, but I've been watching a lot
It
of
was
highlights and everything else.
Yeah, it was like I'm not one of those that's like a diehard UFC fan, but I can get into it. Like, dude, there was a lot of good fights that night, and so that was one worth investing because
You know
that's
who he's
that's
fighting
somebody
next,
cheap.
right? You know who he's fighting next, right?
Hmm.
The
I
winner
feel
of
like it's Sean.
Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg.
Get get
I'll pay to see that one for sure.
That'd be
Dude,
the
people
worst.
really would. They would make like as if they need to make more money, they would make even more. The rich get richer. But coming back to you, Gavin, man, the crowd wants to hear you do karaoke. You got to do a song. Doesn't matter the genre, but you gotta sing what you feel most comfortable on stage. What you bringing?
Probably "Beautiful Girls" by Sean Kingston.
Very
That's
nice.
probably that'd probably be the go-to.
Griffin, I know you're fixing to bring some country or something at me. What you got?
He's not going
Probably,
country.
probably some Tyler Childers or Zach Bryan.
Oh, he is going country.
I knew he was. That Texas boy was coming at me with that.
I've been big on the Zach Bryan lately.
Not
So
karaoke music though. Come on.
Hmm.
I could never see myself singing karaoke, to be honest with you. So
If the crowd calls for it, you got to do it, man. Oh, you got it.
Yeah.
Gavin said he could sing it better than that though. Uh,
Oh,
so
no.
speaking of beautiful girls, what a segue, Daniel. Gavin, man, who was your childhood celebrity crush?
Oh no. I'm gonna get in trouble with my girlfriend for this one, but I'm gonna say Margot Robbie.
First of all, you can't ever get in trouble for saying Harley Quinn, and second, it was childhood. Like, I mean, you could have
Bro,
said it was
you
5
could
years
get in
ago.
a lot of trouble because that's not childhood. That's right now.
Uh, that's the yeah celebrity crush.
All right, Griffin, who you got?
probably like that, like 2014 Hunger Games, Katniss Everdeen.
Oh
Okay,
no.
that's a new one. That's a new one. That's
That's
a
like,
little different.
well, I mean, you
Yeah.
said childhood. That's like, I mean, I don't know, I'm like 8 or 9, something like that.
So you just suppose you're a Hunger Games guy growing up.
I read the books. I watched the movies.
All right, all right. This one won't get you in trouble, Gavin. This is the last one, man. This is the important one. Favorite athlete growing up.
Derek Jeter, hands down, for
Ooh,
sure.
solid. And if Randy was here, that is his favorite athlete growing up as well. So, boom. Who you got, Griffin?
Kershaw. I wore number 22 all through youth baseball. So
Yeah, I hear he's
a
pretty good, Daniel. What do you think?
local Texas guy too, just connected to it.
Yeah, he's from
There you
Dallas,
go,
huh?
man.
He's from Highland Park. It's about 30 minutes from me.
So I thought.
So, guys, getting into the story, obviously, there's a lot to unpack with this past season, but before we get there, I kind of want to backtrack and like let the fans get a glimpse of just the career and the story that kind of led all the way up. So, when we talk about the beginnings, we talk about growing up and falling in love with baseball for the first time. But I mean, obviously, Gavin, I'll start with you, man. Tell me a little bit about the hometown. Where are you from?
I'm from Lake Charles, Louisiana. So that's probably, I don't know if anybody doesn't know where that's at. It's like 2 hours straight west from Baton Rouge. So I was a LSU fan growing up my whole life.
You got mom, dad, brothers, sisters.
Yeah, I got me, my parents, and then I have two brothers. I have a younger brother and then an older brother, and then I also have an older sister. All four of us played sports growing up. Our life revolved around sports.
So what was dinner time like? Was it just full of like making fun of people, very competitive, or was it very like loving, supportive, Brady Bunchish? Like what was the scenario like?
I'm gonna be honest. Our dinners, we didn't have a whole lot of sit down with the whole family dinners because we were all outside running around, and it was just come in, grab some food, eat real quick, and then get back out going and go play basketball on the night. Just, I mean, we were when I was younger, it was just constant go, go, go. All we did was play sports. I mean, there's sometimes you just forget to eat dinner whenever I was way younger. So, but I mean, I have a very competitive family. All six of us are, and yeah, we definitely go at each other all the time to compete to be the best at everything.
Who's the most athletic, or who's the best athlete of the crew?
I mean, come on,
I mean,
definitely. But there are people, if you would ask them, they would say my sister.
that's usually what we get is it's like a very like immediate, oh, if we have guys on that have an older or younger sister, they're always like, oh, it was my sister.
Not
And
Cameron James. He acted just
well,
like Gavin did.
yeah, he's a little different, but
People, my
also we
sister.
got guys who were like whose parents were athletes. They're like, oh, mom's was the best athlete. She would hands down kick all of our ass in her prime versus our prime. So it's good that you're gonna bet on yourself, but I wouldn't expect anything less when you're growing up with that much competition and that much drive and fuel. Like you gotta be, of course, you're gonna pick
Yeah,
yourself.
the thing about my sister was she grew up playing out sports against nothing but guys. And so then she got to like middle school basketball and middle school volleyball, and she was like just way more athletic than everybody else. And then she played high school volleyball and high school softball and was really good. Had offers to go play college volleyball, but just kind of decided she wanted to start making money and start her life. So
So at what point, obviously, you guys are busy all the time, whether it's actual like competitive sport or it's outside in the backyard or shooting hoops in the driveway, whatever it is. But at what point did you start playing baseball? I'd assume at a pretty early age, right?
yeah, I mean, baseball was like the first sport that I even knew. I've known it. I mean, since I can remember, I had a baseball in my hand. Like whenever I was like just before I turned 2 years old, I almost drowned in my grandparents' pool from chasing a baseball into the pool that I like just threw. I would just pick up the baseball and throw it and then chase it and pick up the ball and throw it like a little puppy. And I picked it up and threw it in the pool one time and chased after it. Being 2 years old, didn't know what a pool was, fell in, parents didn't see me. And then like a minute later they pulled me out and I was like purple and I almost died. So it's crazy. Yeah. So I mean, I've been chasing after baseballs my whole life.
So Griffin, you talked about Kershaw, you talked about Texas. Tell me a little bit about your hometown.
So I'm from Southlake, Texas. I've lived there since third grade. I lived in Alito, Texas before that. Both pretty similar. Southlake's a little more in the city, but both very competitive with sports. Like Alito holds the record in Texas for the most football state championships. I think they have 9, and Southlake's got like 7 or 8 maybe.
What is high school football like in Texas, in your opinion? Is it
It's
exactly what I
absurd.
picture it being?
I mean, I wish that y'all could see a picture of like my high school's football stadium. Like it's not even on the campus, like it's off the high school campus because it's too big. And it's not even that big compared to some of the other ones. Like I'm sure you've seen the viral Allen, Texas stadium. And I mean, they're only getting bigger. So it's a lot of fun. It was a cool environment. I wish that I would have kept playing past my sophomore year, but baseball calls, you gotta pick it up. It is what it is.
My question is, because I was trying to think, and Drew Brees played at Westlake. Like, is there like a west, south, north lake? Like, we got lakes from all over battling. What we got?
Westlake is actually Austin Westlake. So it's a little ways down there, but they're also, I mean, just ridiculously good. There's some real like football powerhouses in Texas that churn out athletes like it's nothing.
Like, I know how much Louisiana gets supported in baseball and football. In Texas, with football being so big, I mean, does baseball get the proper love?
I don't think so.
Mm.
I mean, everybody sees my school, Southlake, as a football school, but then I mean, you look and we haven't won a football state championship in like 10 plus years, and we've won 3 baseball championships in the past 5. But just it is what it is.
What's the baseball stadium like? That's what I want to know.
I mean, it's nothing crazy. It's very nice. It maybe holds 1,000 people. No, not maybe not. Maybe if you counted standing room on the side and everything. But I mean, it's nice. All turf field.
Well, put it to you like this, Daniel. He still doesn't realize it's still a lot bigger in Texas for sure, because DeSoto Central, just down the street, home of Austin Riley, they got 4 state championships in what, like the last 10, and they hold maybe 200 people at best. So yeah, y'all still doing it bigger in Texas.
Just have to.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about the dinner table. Obviously, we heard from Gavin. Gavin had a full table. Not They didn't spend a lot of time at it, but it would have been full if they would have had family dinner. But what about you? What's family life like?
So I've got my mom and dad, and then I have one older and one younger sister. We're all 4 years apart. So I'm right in the middle.
What is
I
it
would
like being the middle child between two girls? Like, do you lean more on one over the other, or do you utilize both of them, or you just kind of they're closer than you are with them?
I would say, especially when I was a little bit younger, lean a little more on the older sister. Just like she's in high school, I'm in intermediate or middle school or whatever. So, just trying to figure out stuff about high school, how to get through it. She played high school sports, so kind of figuring all that out. And then she went to college. She's living on her own and everything now. So I still see her, but I don't see her as much as my little sister. So. But I would still say that we're all relatively, pretty equal as far as closeness goes.
Do you ever congratulate your older sister on finding out where your parents' line in the sand is, so you know where it's at?
Yeah, it was definitely nice to have someone kind of go through, give it a test run.
There you go. So I feel like the middle child sometimes gets forgotten. It's all about the older sibling that obviously thinks the world revolves around them, and then the younger sibling, because they're the youngest, they get more of the attention, and then that middle sibling they just kind of float out there. They know they're loved, but maybe not as much as the other two. What is it like being the middle kid?
I think that I don't have it too bad as far as middle childs go, just because I'm the only boy. So, I'm the only one playing baseball, football. my older sister played basketball, but so I kind of have a little bit of an advantage, and try to always outdo their grades, outdo their sports, which not always easy, but try my best.
When you talk about sports, at what age did you start playing sports? And then at really what age was it that you started picking up a baseball and playing for the first time?
The first sport I really played was I feel like a lot of little kids just play soccer. Like it's just easy, like when you're 3, 4, 5 years old. And then when I was 6, that's when I started playing T-ball and football. So started playing football and had to drop soccer. That was the choice, and decided to go with football.
Yeah, I think what happens is as a kid, they're like, all right, soccer is good because you're basically utilizing either your feet or your hands. You're either the goalie and you're using a lot of just your hands, and that's really the main focus as a kid. And it's easy to like just focus on that one particular thing, or you run and you kick the ball, at the in the other position. So
Well,
you're a kid, like it's so much easier to just break it down and go, all right, we're playing soccer because you can just focus on this one thing.
my dad signed me up for soccer at 4 because he said he needed to run the energy out of me. So he thought, what better than a soccer field? And baseball just never took, Daniel. As you know, I went out there, I was the kid playing in left field with the grass, so it just didn't take.
Oh, it's baseball's not for everybody, man. It's
Mm.
definitely there's. I'm sure Gavin and Griffin can attest to this. There's always one kid out there picking flowers and playing in the dirt, not paying attention. It's just always one.
Yeah,
So
no, I mean, there's always got to be, especially when you're playing in that, youth rec league, whatever it is, T-ball. My team was the Red Raiders because my dad was the coach and he went to Tech. You're playing against the Yankees or, whoever else, and just out there having fun. It's nothing
There's
serious.
almost at this point, especially where I live, there's almost not rec anymore. Is everybody's on a travel team now? Like it's crazy. So if you're a kid that is not very good and just want to play for fun, there's almost not even an opportunity for you anymore.
wow,
Sad.
it's sad.
Yeah. I mean, I know that I started playing select baseball at 7, so I did my 1 year in the rec league, and that was about it.
Yeah, I did the same thing. But I mean, I don't know. There's a whole nother time to talk about where the travel baseball world's at. I think it's
Yeah,
not in the right
I
place,
don't think so either.
I
I know
don't know.
some of the
but
best
it's
time I
okay.
had playing baseball was on my T-ball team All-Stars going to this I mean, who knew there was a state championship for T-ball All-Stars, but played in it.
Yeah, I mean that's basically y'all. Y'all met my son, and man, he's just like a really fun, outgoing kid. And when it became competitive and we kind of got out of the rec thing, it wasn't for him anymore. He didn't like coaches yelling all the time. He didn't like it just became a whole nother level. And it's like, damn, man, my kid's 8 years old and you're making it sound like winning this game is life or death. And it's like, calm down.
Yeah.
I think the coaches are kind of to blame for a lot of the kind of misgivings about travel baseball. And I've had great experiences with all of my travel ball coaches, but I've seen from other people and heard stories, and it's just let the kids go out there and play, let them have fun. That's the whole point of the game.
It's twofold, man. I coach baseball at multiple levels: travel baseball, college baseball, high school baseball. But I think a lot of it is there's parents out there that are living vicariously through their kids, and they're pushing the kid harder than the kid really wants to be pushed when the kid doesn't even know what they want to do. It's like, Jim and I talk about this all the time, and we probably will get into this, but like, for a long time there was this thing about high school kids as freshmen and eighth graders committing to a school when you don't even know who you are. Like it became this crazy trend, but thankfully that's kind of gone by the wayside. But we'll get into that. I want to start with high school though, with you, Gavin. Tell me about your high school. Where'd you go?
I went to Barb High School. Played baseball there for 4 years. Didn't play anything else, just baseball. And we won 2 state championships my freshman year and then my junior year.
So let's take a look at that. So, I had to write all these down. 2022 Gatorade Louisiana High School Player of the Year. You hit 422, 5 homers, 25 RBIs, 36-4 record. You had a berth in the Class 5A quarterfinals. You compiled a record of 8-0 on the mound with a .16 ERA, 83 strikeouts, 11 walks, and 45 innings. You were the #1 ranked player in Louisiana by perfect game in 2022, as well as being nationally ranked as the number 13 shortstop. Man, let's start with the question. Obviously, this is what everyone wants to know. So, since you're good at both, what do you like better? Do you like playing shortstop or do you like pitching better?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really know that answer coming into college because I just always did both at a really high level. And like I never had to choose one. I just always did them and I loved doing both. But I'm gonna be honest, this past season, whenever playing short and hitting gotten taken away from me, I was a completely different person. Like I just didn't feel right to me as much. And then like last fall, I didn't pitch at all, and I just played short and hit. And baseball was a ton of fun. Like I loved it. Blah blah. Not that I didn't love this season. This season was amazing, but only pitching felt super weird, and it just didn't feel right to me. So I would say hitting it. Stop.
Do you feel like um, your work on the mound got better because you devoted all your time to it? Or do you think had you split time, you still would have been as good on the mound as you were this past season?
Yeah. I mean, I think that I don't think that the production would have been better or worse if I'd have stuck to one or the other. It's more about just a health thing, right? That's more the kicker than anything else that people don't realize. Not necessarily can people actually be productive at both. It's more of just doing both is such like a high workload on your body. And the people that do both in the professional baseball level are guys like Shohei are 6'6" and 260 pounds. And they're just like they're built like freaking Mack trucks.
Well, it's
Not
funny you
not
bring that. It's funny you bring that up because I texted Paul before they had even came out with him saying that he was going to just pitch only, and I asked him has he thought about hitting, and he said they asked him. They said he'd have the opportunity. He said he didn't want to. He said it was just too much. He said he's done gotten so comfortable at pitching only. He was just going to stick there.
Yeah, like that's like Paul. I mean, even whenever he was at Air Force, I mean, y'all saw how big and physical he is. I mean, doesn't get much more physical than that. Now he was also catching a little bit, but I mean, his body was breaking down when he was at Air Force, right? Like, I talked to him. He had some back problems at Air Force. Things bugged him over there, and so I mean, if that dude, it's just hard to stay healthy when you're doing both
I
at a
mean,
really high level. You're doing them both a lot.
we had Austin Riley come on here. Obviously, everybody knows who Austin is, and Daniel will tell you when he got drafted, they wanted him to pitch and play third, and he told them straight up, he goes, "Man, I'm tired of my arm hurting. I just want to play third and hit." And obviously, you see what he's doing now, and it's working out. But I mean, whether it's you, Paul, or him, or anybody, man, yeah, it's taxing on you.
Yeah.
I think what you did is in high school, you posted a .16 ERA, and so like you were getting every batter out, and so I guess LSU's like, well, that's what we want. We want every batter that comes to face Gavin to be out. We don't want any runs to score. We want to make our job much easier. But I'll ask you this, man: what is it like toeing the rubber, knowing like they might get a hit here or there, but like you basically own everybody with a .16 ERA. Like there's like no worry in the world. Like your stuff is better than any batter that steps in the box.
Yeah. I mean, pitching in high school baseball was completely different than pitching in college baseball. Uh, I mean, you kind of just showed up to the field and, you went through your routine and got your stuff done, made sure your body was going to be healthy and got yourself going. And it was like, once you got on the mound, it was just, you knew that all you had to do was make your pitches and there wasn't really anything that anybody else could do. And in college, it's a lot more of like, you can make a pitch and it can still get hit. And you're kind of up there thinking and wondering how the hell did they even hit that? Like, it doesn't really make sense. But I mean, in high school baseball, that didn't happen. If you ever made your pitch and you did what you were supposed to do, you got outs. So that was all it was in high school baseball, just learning how to actually pitch and how to get guys out. And then, you know, pitching in the amateur level is way more ahead than hitting is. So when you go watch elite high school pitchers pitch to elite high school hitters, the pitchers are usually going to win also.
Yeah, true. So you talked about LSU, you talked about where you're from and like the natural move for you, especially being, one of the best baseball players in the state of Louisiana. Um, it was an easy choice, I think, for you to go to LSU once they offered you, but there's also a decision that you had to make between LSU or going pro. Like, what was the difficulty with that decision, and why inevitably did you go, you know what, I'm going to go to college? That's where I need to be.
Yeah, I thought there was a lot of value for me coming here. My senior year, I ended up getting hurt. I had a lot of back problems, so going into the draft, a lot of scouts kind of just saw like a shadow of what I thought that I could do. Right, like if you look at the stats, like only threw like 46 innings throughout a 45 or something like 45 game season. I went through like 46 innings, and so I thought that I had a lot more that I could show. And then also, a lot of scouts were talking to me about going over there just to pitch and not play short. And I wanted to give myself a real shot at playing professional baseball and either doing both or giving myself a shot at playing short and hitting in professional baseball. So that's the main reason that I came here. I trusted Coach Jay Johnson and Chief and all the coaches at LSU to develop me and just put me in a position to succeed. So
Seems like a
ultimately,
solid decision at this point, doesn't it?
yeah, it seems like a really good decision.
It's almost like when you go to a school like LSU, it's just the history and the expectations alone. It's almost like being in a professional atmosphere without getting paid for it, so to speak. So like when you talk about gaining experience and playing high level competition and maximizing your value and not having these glimpses of what you could do, but having it every day, like you're playing in the SEC, you're playing for one of the top teams in the country. And, by the way, you are going to be a key player in what you guys inevitably did. So I think like there's no loss there. As a matter of fact, I think by not going pro, you actually benefited yourself because one, you won a national championship, and two, like you had a ton of success this year. So
When you look at it, because they talk about Cruz and him saying about going to college, but you look at these two guys right here. I mean, so you can look throughout LSU, but these are two guys who had the stuff to go ahead and go to the next level, and look at how much they're being rewarded for going to college. So these guys are really showcasing for the younger generation, like, hey man, college, there's something to it.
for sure. So Griffin, you mentioned, you know, playing baseball in Texas, 1,000 seaters, 1,000 seats, at the baseball park. So what high school did you go to?
I went to South Lake Carroll High School.
South Lake Carroll. That just seems like a juggernaut, a powerhouse. Where'd you go? Oh, South Lake Carroll.
I think the two names really kind of just
I
puts
think
emphasis on it.
so.
It doesn't roll off like the Highlands, though, Daniel. The Highlands we've had like 5 guests from the Highlands.
So anytime like South Lake Carroll is more like we're good and we're gonna work really hard and beat your ass. The Highlands are like, oh, how dare you come to the Highlands? They us. Like No
Please tell
offense.
me you played them in sports. Tell me y'all go against the Highlands, Griffin.
I can't say I've ever played against the Highlands.
Well, you should have, because had you probably would have racked up even more stats than this. You posted a 13-1 record in 2022 with a .24 earned run average. You were the player of the year in the Blue Belt Texas Sports Writers Association Class 6A All-State Baseball team. You led Southlake Carroll, honestly, to a state title. You recorded 145 strikeouts over 87 innings, 47.1 scoreless innings. You had a 6-0 record with 71 strikeouts, .19 ERA in your 2022 postseason games. You were ranked as the number 3 left-handed pitcher in Texas by perfect game. Dude, with those stats, you know, it's crazy that, you know, to read through it and to hear it. But, you know, talk to me what it's like to have those stats and then inevitably hoist up a championship trophy at the end of the year. Like, obviously it's hard work and it's a grind, but, you know, do you feel like you guys were the team to beat, or were you the guys that were kind of overlooked and you worked really hard and you earned it?
Um, that year we were a little bit of the team to beat. We had gone to the quarterfinals the year before, and I think we were returning pretty much everybody. We struggled in the early season, so a little bit of, you know, I think we got overlooked a little bit, but as we got going, I think we cleared most of the doubts. But I tried not to really look at the stats as I went, just play it game by game, just focus on winning, which I feel like is very, like, coming to LSU was like a continuation of that. Like, I don't think Paul or Dylan are sitting there worrying about what their average or ERA is. They just want to win as many games as possible and win a national title. And I had a great high school coach. I had great guys around me. And I think that was kind of what we all tried to emulate.
So let me ask you this: 13-1. Who was the one?
We went out to a tournament in California, and in the, not preseason but like early season, and we lost to Orange Lutheran. I want to say like 2-0.
I like that. I heard Gavin go when you asked that question.
It's a brutal question.
We actually played against a couple of LSU former commits, Micah Romero, and then I am completely blanking on his name. Derek Correa. He's an LSU.
Was it a game that you feel like you should have won? Did you have opportunities to win? You guys just didn't, you know, have timely hitting or whatever the case was?
I didn't pitch as well as I should have, but we didn't score any runs either. So
You're not going to win any games with a goose egg. So
I mean, I think the best I could have gotten is a no decision, but I'll take the loss on me. I shouldn't have given up 2 runs.
it happens, man. Obviously, I mean, there's a lot to be said, you know, for an athlete flying halfway across the country, you know, having to perform at a high level. Obviously, there are probably no slouch teams that you guys are playing there. Why would you go there to play inferior, you know, competition? But you know, you said this happened early in the season.
It was one of either my first or second start of the year.
So either way, you came back and went. You rattled off 12 in a row or 13 in a row, however it played out. Like, that in and of itself's got to be impressive, and you got to feel good about being able to bounce back and your abilities on the mound and what you could do. I'll ask you kind of the same question. You know, being in Texas and just everything that's magnified in the state of Texas, having a .19 ERA, not quite as good as Gavin's, but, you know,
Got some work to do.
You know,
I mean,
double the innings. Cool.
yeah. Either way, like, unbelievable like ERA. Like, what is it like for you knowing that you toe the rubber and these guys don't have a chance against you?
I mean, 47 in the third scoreless straight innings, Daniel.
I gave up my streak on the 7th inning of the semifinal game.
You said
Of
that's
course he remembered.
I was pretty mad about it. I'm not gonna lie to you, but that went away pretty quickly. But it was a little selfish, but I was mad about it.
And it's okay. You can be mad about it. I would. Tell me
But
they need to be better.
to answer your
Probably,
question,
probably some bullshit hit too that flare like right over the shortstop's head or second baseman's head or some crazy ridiculous
Watch
thing.
him tell you it was a bomb.
it was a double in the gap.
It's all right. That happens.
But to answer your question, I just going out pitching in high school. In the competition, I'm not gonna say that it was the best, but I would say that it was good. It was good. There were always 2 to 3 hitters in the lineup that I had to really watch out for, and I think that I still, if I wouldn't have stayed at a high focus level, I couldn't just put on cruise control and just go through the motions. Especially once we got into the playoffs, and I kind of had to start adopting a mentality that I think has helped me so far in college. Especially when the team's relying on you, you get into those high pressure situations. There's a rule in Texas baseball playoffs where an opposing team can request a coin flip for a 1 or 3 game series. And so we got 1 gamed for the first 2 or 3 rounds in a row. So it's like you're one and done as opposed to the 3 game series, and just gotta, I guess, just bear down and just trust your stuff, make your pitches.
That's a hell of a rule. We don't have that here because if you have the one and done and they got the unhittable ace, then I mean you're done.
Yeah.
It's the better team, I think, the deeper team with the deeper talent bodes well in a 3-game series. But if you got one ace that's just dominant, like that's the way to go. Let's be done. One and done. Let's get it out of here. Let's roll. Only problem is you're probably going to face the other team's ace too. So you're going to be best versus best. So I don't know. I don't know how much I like that. Did you like it?
I mean, I didn't mind it. We played a 1 game, so I got to go like to prom, which was nice.
Oh, that's the real reason they chose the one game.
We were supposed to be gone over the weekend. Our coach was trying to get the 3 game, and we ended up getting flipped for the 1 game. And I was like, hey, I mean, I think we're gonna win. I think it'll be fine. And now we all get to go back and not be late. So
Oh, so not only did you have those season stats, but you got to go to prom too.
There you go.
Big season for you. Let's go. That's right. All right. So being in Texas, Big 12 country, like you're getting ready to commit to college. What was there any interest in Big 12 schools, or was it LSU all the way?
I would say honestly, never really considered the Big 12. Um, my mom is from Lebanon, Tennessee. It's just outside Nashville. She's got a family full of Tennessee fans. And so she had been around the SEC culture, kind of knows what it's about. And she always told me from the time I mean, I'm not gonna say a little kid, but like middle school, like if you're gonna take baseball seriously, you gotta go SEC.
So what were your options?
I committed at a very young age, which looking back at, like, obviously it worked out. I committed October of my freshman year of high school. So LSU technically at the time was my only offer.
Just
But
rolled with that. Obviously, once you got down to it. Let me ask you this: when you commit that early, what is the true commitment there? Like, at what point can you say no and just be like, hey, I'm going to go somewhere else? Is that on the table at any point? Like you
Yeah,
can,
it's until you ink it.
right? So would you have felt any kind of way to be like, you know what, I'm going to go somewhere else? Or are you a guy that's like, nope, that's where I committed. Like regardless of when I said it, I'm going to stay true to my commitment.
Just kind of the way that I was raised is just to, if you make a commitment to something, then you're gonna see it through. Obviously, there was a pretty big coaching change about halfway through my time being committed. And Coach Johnson came in, made it very clear to me that he still wanted me to be a part of the team, wanted me to come with him. And once it didn't take long at all. It took about a phone conversation or two to get fully comfortable with that. I never had any doubts. I wanted to make sure and get to know him and his entire coaching staff, and I couldn't be happier.
When a guy takes the first school like you did, the one thing that we usually hear is they still would have picked that school, but they wish they would have took all the visits and took advantage of that. And I mean, why not? You get, the special treatment when you show up around campus, get to do all the thing, get fed and all that. And even though you don't plan on going there, I mean, I'd work the system like that. I'd hit up my 5 best schools, but nonetheless, Gavin, all right, man. So you obviously kid from Louisiana. LSU was where you always were gonna be. We get to fall ball. I was down there watching a lot. We've been talking about it, the pitching, the shortstop, obviously got to see you do both. What was your thought process coming in, the very thing we were talking about what you're going to be doing? What was Jay saying? How'd that play out?
Yeah, so coming in my freshman year, I was supposed to be I was gonna try to do both. And then right before signing deadline, coming in my freshman year, what's his name? Carter Young, and then the other kid from Baylor, I can't remember his name anymore. They both ended up signing like a day or two before signing deadline. So then Coach Jay was like, man, we don't have that many infielders. Like, our infield group isn't that deep. We need you to just focus on infield, stay healthy, so we can have depth. And so all through the fall, that took place. And then all I did was I didn't touch a baseball fall, just pitched. I mean, just hit. And then we get to the spring, we had some arm injuries. And then I started pitching again like the very first week of actual regular season games. Started working with Coach West and got back going on the mound just because I wasn't, a starting infielder. And kind of the rest is history, just now doing both and seeing where that goes.
Yeah, no doubt. So, I mean, obviously, you start coming out of the bullpen, really become a guy heavily relied on. I was reflecting back, looking at the stats. Obviously, you had some appearances, but really, from the Sunday game in Tennessee is when you just started becoming a regular back end guy. As a freshman in the SEC, what's the pressure like? Coming in the tough situations, especially in the gauntlet of the SEC.
Uh, I would say that it definitely takes, like someone who doesn't have fear. Because you're getting put into a situation where, like, from the outside looking in, everything's going wrong and there's no way out. You're getting put in a situation where no one really wants to be in. Everyone would rather not be in that situation. And I would say for anyone who gets put in that situation and wants to have success, you just try to kind of find the things that give you confidence. And the thing that always gave me confidence was because I'm a hitter also, is like hitting in those situations is really difficult also, right?
Mhm.
Like, hitting with runners on second and third, 2 outs and come in the big spot. Like that's a tough spot to be in for the hitter also, knowing, he has to get a hit for these runs that come in. He can't hit a ground ball to second base. He has to hit a line drive. He's going to expand. So that's kind of always how I looked at, the hitter is going to get big too. Just come in, execute pitches, and let everything take care of itself. If things don't go wrong, it is what it is. But just trusting your stuff, going in there and compete, have fun, enjoy it.
Yeah, like I mean, I definitely wouldn't have been made for coming out of the bullpen. I'm anxiety filled, like the pressure situation. I remember when Landon Sims came on here and we asked him about because their opening game was in the Globe Life field in the college baseball showdown, and he came in against Texas with bases loaded, no outs. And I was like, what was your thought process? He said, I was excited, dude. Like he's like, I thrive for moments like that. And I was like, dude, who thrives for bases loaded, nobody out? Like, man, don't sign me up. But closers are y'all guys are built with different DNA. You were 3-0 on the season with 3 saves, 3.77 ERA, 42 Ks over 28 and 2/3 innings. Obviously we don't have time to talk through everything in the regular season. What I want to talk about when you talk about being in the bullpen, when you talk about a closer's mentality, it's the ability to have a short memory and bounce back. And so I looked back to the Kentucky game, right? Which probably you would agree was probably, maybe your toughest outing. It's not just the giving up the runs, but it was the walks. But then you come back against them in the supers and you're absolutely lights out for 2 2/3, 4Ks, and you get a save there. Talk about that mentality, like to be able to forget what happened the previous time and come back out there and know, you can do what you got to do.
Yeah. I had like a 2 or 3 week stretch right there whenever I had my first outing against Kentucky, where my stuff wasn't really there. My arm was kind of just didn't feel right. The velo wasn't the same. The ball wasn't really coming out very well, and so I knew that going into the super. It wasn't that they like had my number or anything like that. It wasn't any of that. It was just at the time I didn't have my best stuff. So I was in the bullpen warming up. And only thing I kept telling myself was like, they're getting my best shot this time. Like, they aren't getting lucky enough to catch me whenever I'm not at my best, right? Like they're getting me at 100%, and just bring it to them, show them what you got, and be the bigger dog in the fight.
Yeah, I mean, they probably thought because usually they always say it's easier to see somebody a second time, and if they got to you the first time, they probably thought, oh, we've seen this kid before, we ain't got to worry, and then instead you shoved it down their throat. So that's what I love, man. It's the ability to forget and move on. As far as regular season, I do want to ask, like, what do you feel like was your favorite performance? Maybe not even necessarily because it was the best, but what was like your favorite outing in the regular season?
The regular season, my favorite outing was definitely the South Carolina. Whenever I closed against them, I felt like it was just like it was like my first real moment, right, at LSU, where it was like, all right, game on the line. As a pitcher or as a position player, it's like, all right, game on the line. Like it's time to like actually go help LSU baseball win a baseball game. Like you're getting the ball right now. You're the deciding factor on if LSU baseball is going to win a game right here. And so it was pretty cool, right? Because as a freshman, it was still I wasn't getting a lot of playing time, so it was almost still kind of surreal that I was playing for LSU, and it was my first moment of like, all right, like you've been watching this happen your whole life, like it's time for you to go do it. And so that's probably that was my favorite outing of the year in the regular season, hands down.
And yeah, and Founders is one of the parks that I have on my list that I actually haven't been to, and I hear that they can get pretty rowdy there. Like, was it living up to the billing of what people say Founders can get? Like they say, I hear they can get pretty rude, so to speak.
I'll tell you, we had that weekend was a weird weekend, man. The first game, whenever Paul started, right, they had like the rain delay or whatever. But I'll tell you, the first 2.5 innings of that game, they were rowdy. It was loud in there. It was electric. They were up on their feet. And I thought it was a pretty cool atmosphere. Honestly, we didn't get their full, everything because of this just the situation. We played a really early game the next day. But those first 2.5 innings, I remember like I thought it was legit. Probably my second favorite atmosphere in the SEC behind LSU.
Yeah, if
But I only
you're
got
not,
2.5 minutes of it.
yeah, if you're not doing your job, if you're the opposing crowd and you're not making the pitcher, feel it. at least I feel anyway. It's that and usually the right fielder, right? Like, so as long as you don't cross any lines that say anything about family members, I feel like it's fair game. For you, Griffin, man, like, let me ask you, like, looking back and you started off like right out the gate, pitching in game after game. Did you ever see yourself? Obviously, you commit to LSU with the expectations of doing certain things. Did you ever see yourself having such a significant role in your freshman season?
I think that I always imagined myself having a significant role, but after the fall, I mean, just being brutally honest, I did not have a great fall. Flash stuff a couple times, but just struggles with command, had some brutal outings. And yeah, after that, I didn't know what to think going into the spring, other than just go home for a little bit, try to improve upon things, try to improve my mental game. And the mental game is the biggest part about college baseball that people, I don't want to say that they overlook, but it's the biggest difference to me between college and high school baseball.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of overlook, I'm gonna get to it as I read this. 5-2 record with 2 saves, 3.93 ERA. You had 41 Ks in 34 innings. Like I said, you start, right out the gate getting heavy action, but you have the win against Arkansas that I happen to be at, as well as that performance against Tennessee that I happen to be at, and that was when me and Chris DeMoy from 60-foot 6-inch podcast had a conversation about you, and it was him that started it. And he goes, dude, Griffin Herring is under the radar like that dude. And like, so for you, man, like, we talk about heavy action, but you get Arkansas, Tennessee, at home in that environment. First, talk about that environment, what it's like, toe in the rubber in front of a packed out box. Obviously, Tennessee setting attendance records at the box, but then also just, going up against big time competition like that so early.
I would say honestly, like my mindset going into it was that it's a win-win. Like I'm already out here. I'm just gonna try to execute pitches, and whatever happens at the end of the day. Like that was my mindset for almost the entire season, was just whatever happens, like surrender the result and just try to execute your pitches, and whatever happens. And when you're in an environment like that, like the Tennessee game, I mean, I don't know if I slept that night. It was the adrenaline, like everything. That was, I would say not by far my favorite outing from the season, just because obviously there was Omaha, and then South Carolina was one that I enjoyed a lot too, but that one was just the first time I think I really, really established myself. And I mean, our fans are ridiculous. They're the best in the country. It's not even close. And I remember hearing them chanting, and it was about women's basketball, and I'm just sitting there hearing them chant, and I was like, is this for me? And obviously it wasn't, but
I didn't even think to bring that up because obviously I know that story, but Daniel, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, Griffin was on the mound when they announced that the women had won the national championship, and the crowd went absolutely electric. But for what it's worth, like, things were going good in the baseball game too, so the timing was good. But for Griffin, it's like, all right, like, but that was pretty cool. Like, when you talk about LSU as a whole, right? Like, because I wouldn't even talk about that. Like, it just talks about LSU and the school and the community and the fans. Like, or at a baseball game and the basketball team won and everybody went nuts. Like, so, like, that's just really cool. Um, you know, I left the hard question for you. I didn't want Gavin to get pissed off at me. I felt like you'd be the more relaxed person I've asked this. I gotta ask this. I was at Mississippi State also. Didn't go well for the entire bullpen, including both you guys. Obviously, that set social media on fire. We as LSU fans, were, and me, obviously, because I don't talk bad about players. As a matter of fact, I think people who talk bad about, I'm not even going on that tangent. But you know what? Anyway, the bullpen sucked. That's literally what it came down to. Y'all weren't good enough to win a championship, is what people were saying. So, what's that conversation like amongst you guys? Because as we talked about with Gavin's short memory, right? Like y'all know that that's just one weekend, and that doesn't mean anything. What's the conversation like after basically that meltdown against Mississippi State?
I think that we all knew the type of stuff that we had in our bullpen. And when you have a leader like Paul and like Ty Floyd leading the way in some of those bigger games, I think that it just kind of started to set in that these games are going to start meaning something bigger than us starting after that series. And just pitching for the guy next to you. Like, look out if you're starting your outing, look out at Gavin Dugas at second base. And I'm actually quoting Wes Johnson here, but look out at Gavin Dugas at second base. He's having shoulder surgeries. He's getting steroid shots just to be out there. And I mean, just show that same commitment level to the guys that are out there doing everything they can for you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And obviously we're fixing to get into Omaha. We're going to talk about how everybody that was being scalded bounced back in a whole nother way. So let's start with you, Gavin, man. Let's talk Omaha. This is obviously why you came to LSU, man. You wanted to compete and win a national championship. You appear in 3 games, once against Wake and twice against Florida. Just talk to me, man. We talk about pitching at Alex Box, but what's it pitching like, man, in Omaha with a packed house?
I mean, pitching in Omaha was nuts. Definitely the most people I ever played in front of. It wasn't even close. But just the energy was unreal. The stadium, looking around, not quite the size of a big league stadium, but that's like the stadiums that you play video. You play MLB The Show growing up, and that's what the stadiums look like. And you just dream about playing in stadiums like that in front of a packed crowd and constant noise and just everyone watching you compete. But I mean, Omaha didn't go exactly how I wanted it to, for myself and my own I guess would say my own achievements. But I got hit a little bit over there, but it was
Well, you know what, I left it off because you notice I said the 3. I left the let's talk about it, man. How pissed off were you at the Tennessee game?
I mean, you know what?
I wasn't going to ask you, but I'm going to ask you now.
Actually, I came out and Paul was Paul. He went, whatever it was, 8 1/3, 8 2/3, whatever, or 7 2/3, whatever it was, unreal outing. And I felt amazing in the bullpen, like probably the best my arm felt all year. Ball was coming out really good, hitting all my spots, throwing slider, everything was coming out really well. And I get out there and warm up pitches felt good. First pitch I threw I thought wasn't even a terrible pitch, and a good hitter who had a great night. He was like 4 for 4 on the night. So it wasn't even just me, it was off Paul too, best pitcher on the planet probably. But put a good swing on a good pitch, and it ended up being a home run. And in the moment, I was kind of mad at myself because I think it made it 5-3. But I thought coming in, I thought it made it 4-3. And so then I was like, man, they're one swing away from tying this thing up. Like, no way you just let that happen. Are you kidding me? And then, I saw Coach Jay walking out, and I was like, no shot. Like, that really just happened. Like, that was it right
and
there,
that was
right?
the thing. Like I watched you all year, and I know your body language, and man, like you could tell, like, man, no way I'm coming out, right? And that's why I wasn't gonna bring it up, but man, yeah, you only get to throw one pitch, and the thing about it is, like, as somebody who's a fan of you and believes in you, like, I actually didn't want you to be pulled. The one pitch didn't, like you said, it's an anomaly. Like, I didn't think that you were going to get pulled for real. I thought he was just going to have a talk with you and calm you down, and then you came out. But like you said, it didn't start the way you wanted to, but we're obviously going to get to it. It ended the way you wanted to. But let's talk about the other guys for a minute, man, because you were just talking about Paul. And like, when we're talking about, like, I was talking about people critiquing and saying, could LSU do it because of pitching? It's just Paul, man. Like, they can't do it because it's just schemes. Like, what was it like to see Ty, Nate, Riley, Griffin, like, obviously could do the names all day, just to see everybody, man, like, have their best stuff when it mattered most.
Yeah. I mean, that's the best feeling, right? You work all year, all fall, all spring. The thing that we say, and I'm sure it's a lot of other programs, is just like, every day just work on getting better. The game 7 against Butler is irrelevant to the season, but it's relevant in the fact that we can, get better that day, right? We can get better. We can learn more about ourselves. We can learn how to play baseball at a higher level. And that's really what we were doing all year, just trying to get better each game. We knew we were going to be a postseason team, right? Regardless of how bad we played, really just we had too much talent on the field to not be a postseason team. So really all I was about was just getting better throughout the year. And then everything came together all at once. And all the work we put into, just completely unraveled all together. So it was it was a great feeling sitting in the bullpen knowing that whoever they called on was just going to go out there and do their thing. And you just get to sit back and watch them do their thing. So it was really cool.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I felt like you guys definitely got the last laugh when, people wanted to critique, man, and that's what makes baseball great. We're obviously going to get into the Florida series after I talk to Griffin, but I got one more question in regards to Wake, man. You watching Tommy White hit the walk-off bomb. I know what it looked like from my view. I know how I felt, but for you, man, like, what was it like watching that?
Yeah. I was in the bullpen, so it flew right over my head. I was starting to throw some plyos and get hot and getting moving. I didn't really know how far they were wanting Thatcher to go just because, obviously we had to win that game, but we knew Thatcher needed to bounce back at some point and throw again against Florida. And so I was getting my body moving around and, we were talking about different situations and then Tommy comes up and hits a home run. And I just looked at Drew Finley, who's like our bullpen coach, and we just like looked at each other for like 5 seconds. And we were like, "Oh my god!" And then we just took off running. Just knew off the bat the ball was still in the air. Just took off running, and I went and found Paul, gave him a big old hug, and then we just went and I don't know, we just had fun and congratulated Tommy and just celebrated the win. It was crazy. That's one of the things that's kind of a blur to me.
From a pitching standpoint, man, just how cool was it? Like, because baseball's also a game of great respect. Like, so we talk about Paul Tom, but watching Rhett, man, like he's that dude. Like, how cool was it just watching those two dudes duel?
Yeah, not even just Rhett. The hats off to Wake Forest. They probably had the best bullpen in the country. It was crazy whenever you're on game 3 against playing against them, and they're on like their third pitcher, fourth pitcher, and they're rolling a guy out there throwing like 96-mile-an-hour carry heaters with the 85-mile-an-hour banger slider filling up the zone. And you're just like, man, when do their options start ending and we can, get out of 0-0 game? Like at some point, like something's got to give. But yeah, I mean, Rhett's a stud. All their relievers were studs. Watching those dudes pitch against each other was really fun. It's two big leaguers in college baseball. So
Yeah, no doubt.
that's why I was 8 innings.
Let me lead with that, Griffin. I'm gonna ask you this, man. This is how I feel about it. Like, do you feel like LSU Wake Forest was really the championship? And what I mean by that, I mean I feel like those were the two best teams. Am I wrong?
I think it's hard to quantify who was the best team, even at the end of the day, just because I think that there was so much talent between us, Florida, and Wake Forest that it's almost, I mean, baseball is just baseball. It's who's hot, who's playing as a unit, who's playing like with the most love for each other, who's the most cohesive unit. And I mean, honestly, sometimes who gets lucky on a given day. And I mean, that's just baseball. So I would say that it's hard to say. I mean, Florida had a great squad. I don't know if I don't think that their pitching was close to Wake Forest's pitching.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this, Tommy Hawk came on here. He was the second episode we had after Omaha, and he said, man, this was the like tipping the cap to y'all. He said they felt like if there was any team, like when you go in most times and you have the luxury of you got to win once and they got to win twice, you're feeling really good. But he said they never felt comfortable because it was LSU. Like he said they legitimately like were worried, and so I thought that was a good respect factor, especially from somebody like Tommy. He'll tell you he's pretty cocky trash talker. So, but man, let's talk about your performance against Wake, dude. Performance of a lifetime on that stage, biggest stage. You go 4 2/3. 6 Ks, allowed no runs. Talk about what was working for you on the mound that day to have such dominance, because we're sitting there talking about the pitching, but we know Wake Forest nickname is also Rake Forest. They had a top offense too, and you absolutely shut them down.
I think the main thing that I had going that day was just fastball and fastball command. I don't think that they were really expecting me to take my, 90, 92 and just try to shove it right at them, work in and out with it up and down. And then obviously slider was pretty good that day as well. Kind of used it as more of a punch out pitch, which is not I can flip it over, but sometimes that's when I'll give up hits is when I try to flip in too many sliders if the fastball command isn't there. So kind of having it more in my back pocket is like I'm gonna get them 0-2, 1-2 with heaters and then come at them with the banger. Like that's more of what works the best, especially when you're throwing more of a gyro, harder slider like I do. But my fastball was kind of having some different shapes on me, which I'm actually working to fix a little bit during this fall. But I think that it might have worked a little to my advantage when sometimes it was running, sometimes it was riding. I don't know exactly what was going on that game, but I was probably just so juiced that mechanics can get a little out of whack, and still so much focus that you can kind of force the hand to make the ball go where you want it to go, even when things are a little bit off. But I just remember coming out and wishing that I would have finished that inning. But
No, but I mean, you did your thing, and like you said, you were in command, you were in control. You never got jammed up, and so dude, it was a good thing to see. And like I said, because a lot of people didn't know if y'all were going to be able to perform like that, and like I said, you put all the haters to rest. I want to ask you. I asked him about Tommy. I want to ask you about the Beloso bomb in Wake Forest, or against Wake Forest. So, the tension of extra innings and everything else, what's it like to see one of the most veteran leaders of your team have that moment on that stage?
I mean, nobody deserves it more than him. Between him and Dugas, the things that they did for us that season, I mean, just absolutely great dudes. Could not have asked for better team leaders, and seeing him do what he did in Omaha, I mean, I could not have been more happy for the guy. Love him
Yeah.
to death. I know everybody on
I
the
mean,
team.
his dad hit me with a man hug, and I tell you what, he had to have been tired by the time he was done, because every dad wanted to give him a hug, and he was hitting them all with them, and so it was cool just to be up there to see his whole family was there to react the way they did, and like you said, a guy who deserves it, because before y'all were on the scene, I watched him have hard times, obviously whether it's injury or when Trey first came on the scene and took his spot and he was having trouble getting the lineup. So to see it all come to fruition like that was really cool. But we're gonna get to the Florida series and we'll finish this thing up. Gavin, I got to talk to you. I showed you the video of you skipping to the mound to finish the game. Like you look like a little kid, going out skipping to the mound. Like never would have known you were closing the national championship. Like obviously we talked about the score and everything, but like, what's your mindset going in that last inning?
Yeah. Well, I came in to throw the eighth, and whenever I'm coming into the game, my only thought was because I'm warming up right next to Paul in the top of the bottom of the seventh. My only thought, or the top of the eighth. So my only thought was that I'm going out there, I'm gonna throw an inning, Coach Jay wants me to just get back out here, get an inning, soak one up, and then Paul's going to come in and close it. So I come in, get 3 outs, and then I go back in the dugout, and the trainer's asking me if I need my heat pack and stuff to keep my arm hot, and I'm like, no, I'm done. And then Coach West came up and was like, no, you're finishing it. And then like my heart just started racing, like knowing that I was going to be on the mound for the last pitch of a national championship game. Like just kind of like,
I mean, Paul was going to really go in because we were all up there talking. We never believed he was ever going in with that score.
No, well, see, that was the thing in my head too. I was like, man, I don't know like how smart it is, but at the same time, like, if anybody deserves to close this thing out, it's him. Like he's the one that we rode here. Like he brought us here. Like if he wants this moment, like
but I get the moment, but is the risk worth the reward if something happens?
I was thinking too, and that's what Paul said. It really wasn't worth it in the end of it. But so then he told me that Paul's not going out. I'm coming, and then I see Paul walking into the dugout with his tennis shoes on, and he looked at me and started laughing, and then he just came in like kind of gave me like a little side hug. Was like like go finish it out, go enjoy it, like you deserve it. You're part of the reason we're here. Like, go enjoy the moment. And then I went out there and but the smirk, that's who the smirk was actually too. I looked around and I looked and made eye contact with Paul. And then I just couldn't help but smile because me and him started right before the last pitch, me and him made eye contact and I started laughing.
Yeah, because that makes sense now. Because like I said, you had like an evil grin on, and it was like, man, this guy's ready to end this thing for sure. You get that final strike. I love it. Your arms come out, and it's like, come to me. But we talked to Landon Sims about this same moment after 2021. Talk to me about the dog pile for a second. It's a fun thing, but it can get pretty dangerous. Were you on the bottom and did it get a little dicey down there?
Yeah, no doubt. I would love the dog pile again this year, but hopefully that I'm like, maybe at short second or something, and I can just go hug the other middle infielder and let the pile up a little bit and then get on the top, because the bottom was no fun. Yeah. It was no fun at all. It's a bad 30 seconds.
Landon said Logan Tanner had to start yelling at people to get off of him because he could hear Landon saying his skull was being crushed. And so the bottom is definitely not fun, but nonetheless, like you hope that the emotions and the adrenaline rush can get you through it. Sure. But you said you talk about the dog pile. We talk about the smile before it. Like when you throw your arms out like that, like were you blacked out at that moment? Like, I mean,
yeah, no, that was. I can't really even remember I was blacked out. Yeah. Sure, blacked out. I can't remember even making the last pitch. That's just watching the highlights and everything. You could just see how quick everything unraveled from making the last pitch to looking at them, and then Travinsky's already up on me, and everything went by so fast.
Yeah, and the first guy who's coming at you, Travinsky's not small at all. So, like, I mean, you're getting tackled first of all by a very large individual.
Donald.
So what?
I got tackled by freaking Aaron Donald.
All right, so Griffin, man, coming into this season, let me ask you, how do you guys stay focused to run this thing back and not get caught being content with winning the first title?
I think we take a lot of lessons from the guys that have come before us. We had obviously Dugas, Peloso setting precedents of be early to the field, be focused at practice. And I think that a lot of our returning guys and a lot of our transfers and freshmen are already picking up on it, but just the kind of mojo that we have around the field and the intensity and the intent behind everything that we do. I think that I think we have a lot of guys who lead by example and just kind of hold everybody accountable. I think accountability is the biggest thing that you can have on a baseball team. Because at the end of the day, whoever's going to put in the work and whoever's going to put in the time to become a real team and get to know each other. And I know that we're already putting in efforts to kind of try to bring together the freshmen and the transfers with everybody else, and we'll continue to do that through the fall, and just having that big, almost like a family. I mean, that's what it takes.
Yeah, and you bring up the transfers and the freshmen. That's exactly where I was going to go. When you look at how well y'all did in recruiting, when you look at how well Jay did in the transfer portal, then you look at what's coming back. Especially you looking at the pitching, right? Like top to bottom. I mean, we went from last year to where Gavin was talking about, like obviously with injuries and everything, like trying to piece it together. But you look now, like, man, so many arms, like so many talented arms. Just how excited are you, like, to get back out there and do this thing again?
Oh, I'm really excited. I think that we've got a really great staff, and I think that we're gonna have a couple guys kind of come up as leaders on the staff, like Paul did, and Ty and guys like that did last year that are gone now, but they left a real imprint on a lot of us, and I think that especially as a pitching staff, I haven't really been around some of the new hitters and a lot of those guys as much, but I know that our pitching staff is already getting close, and we got so much talent. I mean, it's just about being able to put it all together, which I know Coach Johnson, I mean, knows how to do it better than anybody else.
And so with all this talent, knowing you, obviously seeing that like you can go for long stretches of innings is, obviously we were a long way from being there, and obviously got to do fall ball. But I mean, is competing for a weekend spot something that's at least something that's on your radar that you would like to do?
I would say that it is, but at the same time, I mean, I don't like to get caught up in the roles. I'm gonna I'm gonna pitch to the best of my ability and give it everything I got this fall, and whatever happens happens. And as long as I'm helping the team win at the end of the day, then I'll be content with my spot.
Team guy, I love it. All right, last question, and man, I'll let Daniel play a game with y'all. This is coming to you, Gavin. Obviously, we've been talking about the shortstop thing. When I saw you in New Orleans and we hung out, you were talking about you were taking BP every day. Is that still what's going on? And man, just how do you feel swinging the bat? Is it going well?
Yeah, everything's starting to feel good. Taking ground balls, lifting, getting back in shape, sprinting, hitting. Just focus on getting back to my thing, finding my timing and my movements, and getting my body moving back right. And then, it's just gonna be about game reps, getting live at bats, seeing pitching, you know, being able to pick up spin and spit and take good at bats and move the baseball, and just get back in the groove of being a position player.
Nice. Well, it seems like, and as hard as it is to repeat, if anybody's got a shot at doing it, it's you guys. You've done everything that you possibly can do um, in the off season to prepare you for a good preparation this fall that'll hopefully carry over in the spring. And I have a good feeling we're going to have you guys back on in the spring, and we're going to be talking about big things again. So, um, best of luck to you guys. But before we wrap and conclude the episode, we got to play a game, man. We got to play this or that. It's the same game we play with every guest before we cut them loose. Y'all down to play?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. So it's simple. All right. I give you two options. You choose one option or the other. Can't say both. Can't say neither. For this game, Griffin, I'll start every question with you, and then Gavin, you can follow up with your answer. Cool?
All right, sounds good.
Sweet.
All right. So tonight's episode, This or That's, brought to you by the Athletic Collection. If you want some of the best, hottest posters in the game, especially two of the studs that we have on the podcast tonight, Gavin and Griffin, if you want their poster or you want many of our guest posters, going over to the Athletic Collection, they can hook you up. It's a good deal because it's buying a poster that's supporting the athletes for the right reasons. And guys, um, Jim's got examples on video right now of his. Jim, if you want to point out Gavin.
Man, look, I'm gonna tell you right now. No offense, Griffin, you don't have the specialty thing on there, The Hammer Time might be the. I mean, him and Captain Morgan on the other side are having a real contest for the best one. Griffin, we got to get you one with something with the. I don't know what the word is, but we got to get you one with something back there.
We can work on it. We'll see what we can do.
All right. So out of the gate, easy question. Griffin, I say it's easy. I think it's easy. Griffin, gumbo or jambalaya?
I'm gonna go jambalaya.
Gavin, what you got?
Gumbo.
So mixed right here. Jim, what's your favorite? I don't
Gumbo.
even know the gumbo. Yeah, I think that's the way to go. A nice little.
I think that I love jambalaya, but jambalaya can be replaced. There's nothing that can replace gumbo.
True. Very, very true.
Just all I know is I want both of them from Hot Rod. As a matter of fact, while we're talking about repping, I got my. I did this for them. I wore this. I had to wash it like 5 times in Omaha because they never lost when I wore it. So my Hot Rod's Creole shirt. You put Hot Rod on it, he'll make everything the best.
Man, we're putting these guys on the hot seat now. All right, Griffin, who's a better defender, Dylan Cruz or Trey Morgan?
That is tough. I would say
Don't duck it either.
just purely based on position, Trey, just because he's making scoops and those diving plays. Dylan is unreal in the field, but I feel like that there's not really very many people doing what Trey's doing at first base.
Gavin, who you got?
You better pick Trey. He's the one that would be scooping your bad throws from short.
I didn't make any bad throws from short. I pitched. Oh man, that's so hard. I'll go. But I feel like Dylan was probably the best defensive center fielder in college baseball.
And here's the thing: the stuff that he didn't look as spectacular as Trey because his anticipation and jump made it to where he didn't have to have difficulty. I think that's something that the casual baseball fan probably didn't realize, that his read on the ball is unreal.
I gave up some deep barrels against Wake Forest, and Dylan just caught him standing. I mean,
yeah, it's hard. It's hard to not say Dylan. You know, I remember in inter squads there was a few balls that I hit that he caught that I was thinking to myself, like, there's no way that's an out. Like, I feel like that should be a double all day. I have to go Dylan. And Trey's boy too.
That's how I feel anytime the bat hits the ball. I'm like, man, that should be a hit.
I like it though. We got 2 splits.
Why did the pitcher have to pick that up and throw me out? That should have been a hit, bro. Oh man. All right. Griffin, PlayStation or Xbox?
Xbox.
Gavin, PlayStation or Xbox?
PlayStation.
PlayStation.
That's not even close.
They're gonna go opposite the whole way. I love this.
Griffin, what's your favorite game?
I play a lot of MLB. I don't play video games too much, but lately it's been the show. When we were in Omaha, we would get like 6 or 7 of us and just play like tournaments, 1-on-1, 3-inning games in the show for hours. You got nothing else to do there. You're just sitting in the hotel. So
who won the tournaments, man? Who was the best out of all y'all?
It would be split, you know. Sometimes I would win. Ack was pretty good. Chase was pretty good. We were all pretty equal, but we get after it. We get competitive.
Yeah.
Gavin, what's your favorite game?
I'd say I'm starting to get back into MLB The Show. I just got a new Road to the Show player that I've been grinding out, but I think maybe the biggest sleeper game of them all is PGA 2K.
I knew you were going to say that.
I grind PGA 2K. I love it.
All right. What do you like better, Griffin? Purple or gold unis?
Purple.
Gavin, purple or gold?
Definitely the gold.
Oh my God, they're gonna for real go opposite the whole way.
An absolute tear in the golds. Come on, Griff.
Paul pitched in purples.
Yeah, but that was Paul. We won in purples because Paul pitched, not because the purples.
I don't know if the uniform ever decided a game, but
I mean, if
I don't know, but
you're putting the basis
he
on the
went
uniform,
absolutely
you're discrediting it yourselves, guys.
Well, you're talking to two superstitious cats. Like I said, I washed my shirt numerous times. Once, look, if y'all lost, when y'all lost the first Wake Forest game, like I dismissed that shirt the rest of the time I was there. So that's the way I am.
All right. If you were left on an island with your worst enemy or no one, but that was your only option, you could either stay with your worst enemy or you had to stay by yourself. Which would you choose, Griffin?
probably my worst enemy.
You
I
need
feel like
need a companion.
at least something. I mean, I feel like I don't really hate anybody too much, so yeah, I don't think it would be too bad.
Gavin, where do you stand?
I mean, do I have a way off of this island, or do I need him to survive?
Nah, I mean, you're just either isolated by yourself or you have someone to talk to, but you're not leaving the island. You're there. That's
Oh,
where
so
you.
there's no getting off the island regardless. Like we couldn't by myself.
Oh,
I was thinking, maybe me and this dude could work something up and build a little raft or something and get out of there. But if I'm stranded there forever, regardless of if he's with me or not, I'm going alone.
wow.
Be like Castaway. I can't do it, man. I can't be alone.
You can cut this, but having somebody else there, I mean, you could always eat them if you had to.
Oh my god.
It came down
That's
to it.
not what I was thinking.
That was my original thinking, and I had to come up with
More
some
of like,
BS.
if I
why,
But
why do I gotta cut that? That is amazing content.
that
mean,
was
I think
my
that's-
original thought was I'm trying to survive. I mean, at the end of the day, it is what it is.
my
Se-
thing is like I
season
could
9. Season 9, this or that is if you were stranded on an island with your worst enemy and you could either eat that person or starve to death, which would you do?
I'm eating them.
I think you got to, right?
I
I
think
mean,
Gavin's out on the eating people thing. I think he's gonna just go out with the bang.
At least take a finger and try it.
I mean, in the moment, I feel like you would probably, think otherwise. But right now, thinking about doing that is absolutely not clicking in my brain.
Can you imagine gumbo or jambalaya with that?
Oh, now you're killing it. Hot Rods Creole can't save that, Daniel.
No,
All right.
no.
All right, moving on. Griffin, would you rather own a massive yacht or your own private jet?
Probably the jet.
Gavin,
Like if I have a beach house in the Bahamas, then I'm gonna take the yacht. But if not, then I'm gonna take the jet so I can go to the Bahamas.
so you
It
have
sounds
to
like he wants the yacht.
That yacht's got so many expenses. You got to pay the crew. You got to keep. You know
Oh,
how
and
How
expensive
much you
people.
think gas
jet
is on that jet?
But you're
private
using it
jet
for a
is
purpose. You got
Griff.
to pay for that yacht just sitting there.
Hey, Griff, you want to know something? If you have a private jet or a mega yacht, you're not worried about the expenses, bub.
I'm always worried about the expenses.
The expenses that you're paying on gas and what you're paying the little cleaning lady per month isn't really what crosses your mind.
I think he's right. I think he's
I would
right on
imagine.
this one.
I would imagine.
Griffin said he's in for the long game. He's trying to save a buck here or there.
If
Can I rent out the jet to people? Can I rent out my jet?
On a $20 million boat, I think you're good.
So he is all about this cost cut. Now he's trying to rent out the jet. All I know is if it wasn't for Gavin's island answer, I'd have the same across the board.
All right, Griffin, would you rather spend an hour in a walk-in freezer or 2 hours in a sauna?
I go with the freezer.
Gavin, 1 hour in the freezer or 2 hours in the sauna?
Definitely the freezer, and I can just bring a blanket or some extra clothing or something.
You can always get warmer. You can't really just get cooler
Yeah.
like that.
You can put clothes on. You can't take your skin off your body to get warmer in the sauna.
True. Very true. All right. Last question. What would you rather do? Would you rather win $1 million or win a national championship?
Oh, that's so easy.
That is easy.
National championship.
National championship.
You guys are silly. You guys are being just silly. You already got one. What do you need another one for?
But
Take
you're
your-
asking, but the
take your
question's kind of
million.
in context. Would they take the national championship? Basically, is $1 or $1 million?
No,
I mean,
like
I mean, bro, the only thing better than one national championship is two.
Man,
no,
you're wrong.
0 national championship and $1 million is way better.
Can I tell you something, Daniel? If these two continue on the trajectory they are on, they may end up with 2 national championships and $1 million, bro.
you could
I don't doubt it.
put a suitcase with $1 million in front of my face right now and say you can take this and not win a national championship this year, or you can not take this and guarantee a national championship, and I would tell you to probably get away from me and never talk to me ever again and take the ring and just get on with my life.
See, I don't know. I think I'd have to sit there and think about it for a second, but it wouldn't take that long.
Griffin and the money, man.
Griffin in the money, Griffin in the
He's thinking about paying his cleaning lady with that mill. Apparently,
No, but I wouldn't
Still
take
thinking
it.
about that.
I wouldn't take it at the end of the day, but I'd have to at least I got to consider things, but I wouldn't take it.
No way.
100%. That money would be in my account faster than y'all could count it. Guaranteed. All right, guys. It was an awesome episode. It was awesome hearing y'all's story and really just kind of unpacking for the first time the national championship run. But before you guys bounce, Griffin, I'll start with you, man. Anything you want to plug or promote?
I'm all good.
Gavin, anything?
I would just shout out my family, I guess, and then God. That's it. Without those two things, I wouldn't be here. And yeah, love them both. Love family, love God. Thanks for the opportunities I've been given because of them.
Absolutely. Gotta give.
now Griffin, Griffin wants to
I
come
thought
back.
he meant like a sponsor or something. I was like, I don't.
It's to whatever you want it to be. Sometimes it's sponsors. Sometimes it's what Gavin did. It's whatever you want to shout out.
I've already made my bed. I'll just sit in it. So
There you go. There you go. I'll help you guys out. If you want to know what Gavin Guidry's doing or Griffin Herring's doing on a Wednesday night, maybe they're recording a podcast. Maybe it's Tuesday. They're having a nice little Taco Tuesday, or maybe they're just at the baseball field, doing some PFPs and working some spots. You never know. Going over to IG, you got G_Guidry.6 and Griffin_Herring22. And if you want to stay up to date with all LSU baseball things, schedules, events, the fall, stats, the whole nine, you name it, go to IG at LSU Baseball. Gentlemen, it's a big season coming up. We wish you guys nothing but the best. Stay healthy, stay safe, and we hope to have you back here in the spring.
Thank you.
it's been a pleasure. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, for sure. That's Gavin Guidry and Griffin Herring, everybody. If you like hearing their story or you just like hearing us average Joes talk X's and O's, please like and share the podcast on Facebook. Retweet us on Twitter or X, whatever you're calling it these days. Both are okay. Listen and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. As always, comments, ratings, feedback, hearts, hugs, loves, thumbs up. We'll take it all, and we'll see everybody next week. We got episode 15 coming at you. We got to discuss transfer portal, transfer from Alabama, now an LSU Tiger, guys. We got Luke Holman coming on. I know you guys are excited about having him join the staff, but we got to unpack his story. We got to talk to him and see, how his journey got him to Baton Rouge. This has been the In Off the Bench podcast. As always, remember, strong body, sharp minds, grit and grind all the time. We're out.